Right, so we are on video C of our lecture terms because I just wanted to ensure that we cover as much as we can on this particular question to give you guys a bit of a comprehensive understanding of test of controls. So I was just explaining this procedure here. Let me just show that to you. So we're saying inspect the completed count sheets to determine whether all the corresponding fields, right, have been completed according to the first count and the final count, and whether the necessary differences have been identified and acted upon, something like that. Right. So that's what you can draw from the completed sheets as well. Now, there's something that they mentioned here that all inventory items are labeled with an inventory item number, right? And its description that are indicated on the shelf where the item is stored. That's the labeling of the inventory item. So what do you think you can do to determine or to ensure that this is what is truly in place? That's my question to you. How are you going to verify this? That, inventory items are labeled with an inventory item number and the description are indicated on the shelf where the item is stored. What are you going to do to verify that this is truly taking place?
I think you should check the, what do they call this?
Avoid the word check.
What should I use? Which word should I use to verify?
The actual action verb that you're going to carry out, which is inspect. So you're going to have to inspect the warehouse section, right, to ensure that the inventory items are labeled in terms of the item numbers, inventory item numbers on the shelves at the storage area. That's what you're gonna do. You have to go and inspect the warehouse area to determine whether inventory items are labeled with an inventory item number and that the descriptions are clearly depicted or they are clearly indicated on the shelves. That's what you're gonna have to do. Right. Are we together?
Yes. So
right.
the wording is very strict.
Pardon me?
The wording is very strict. Like there's some certain words that
very strict,
you need to use.
Yeah. Words to avoid is check. Words to avoid, it's words like check. Try to avoid check. Even if you look at you see the kind of words I'm telling you: inspect, inquire, observe, those are the kind of action verbs that they are using here. You see the walkthrough that I talked about? You saw the walkthrough?
Yeah.
You see? Observe. Most of it is going to be inspect. Now, you need to understand that when you inspect, you'll be inspecting documents. You'll be inspecting an actual location or place. Very important. That's where the word inspect is used most of the time. For example, look at this. Inspect the sequencing of the inventory sheets before the inventory count begins. That's similar to what I was giving you here to say. Inspect the completed inventory count sheet. No, not that one. Inspect the inventory sheets in use to determine whether they have been appropriately sequenced for the purpose of recording the details obtained during the inventory count. It's exactly one in the same procedure. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Just written differently or portrayed differently, but meaning one in the same thing. And then we're told inventory items must be identified Oh, no, I think we've read that, have we? Let's see. Oh, no, we haven't read that. Now, before the inventory count begins, Danny Brown will walk through the warehouse to make sure that all inventory items are labeled. This is before the what? The inventory count. So what are you going to do to verify whether this is truly the case? We will also have to do a walkthrough at the warehouse section to ensure. But anyway, that's the previous procedure, which I was telling you that inspect the warehouse area to ensure that all the inventory items have been labeled with an inventory item number and that its descriptions are indicated on the shelf at the store section. Full stop. That's a procedure on its own. Then you continue. Inventory count will take place as follows. Now, this is during the count. Now, the counting teams will collect the inventory sheets from Danny Brown and sign for them on the inventory control sheet. So what do you think you should do to verify that indeed these guys are signing for this? You're going to have to inspect the inventory control sheet, right? From Danny, I mean, you're going to have to request for the inventory control sheet from Danny Brown and inspect it for the signatory of the counters, right? To verify, or to, not to verify, but to ascertain whether, I mean, yeah, you can just leave it like that. Like you just have to inspect the inventory control sheet. Let me write it down. So you're gonna do the following. Inspect the inventory control sheet for the signatory of the counters prior. Sorry, yeah, for the signatory of the counters, just like that. That's it. So inspect the inventory control sheet for the signatory of the counters. But prior to that, you can just say request the inventory control sheet from Danny Brown and inspect. I think let me do that. So you can request for the inventory control sheet from Danny Brown and inspect. Obviously, in this case, I will have to say inspect it for the signatory of the counters. Because who signs it? The counters. They are the ones who sign for them. So we have to verify whether this is taking place. So the only way to verify that we have to request for, the inventory control sheet from Danny Brown, and then we inspect it for the signatory of the counters. That's what I have to happen there. And then let's continue. Inventory items must be identified by comparing the inventory item number and its description on the inventory sheet with the label indicated on the shelf. So obviously, if we match the inventory sheet to the labels on the labels on the shelves, there should be correspondence, okay? But we'll do that. We'll do that at the end because we just want to make sure how they are labeling the shelves after they've done the count. So one staff member must count the inventory items and the other staff member must record the quantity on the inventory sheet in ink. Once the inventory item has been counted, a green sticker will be attached to the inventory label on the shelf. We have to do something about this. So what are we going to do? So we're going to have to match the inventory sheet, the completed inventory sheet, to the labels on the shelves for the counted items to ensure that it has been labeled with the green sticker. Does it make sense? So you're going to do this. Match the completed count sheets, right, to the labels on the shelves for the counted items to ensure that the shelves have been labeled. Sorry. Have been labeled green. That's it. Is it making sense?
Yeah.
Right. Something like that. And then they're saying if damaged inventory items are identified, they are marked with a red sticker. And Danny Brown must be notified, as this might result in potential write-down of inventory. So there are two procedures that can come from there. One of them is inquire with Danny Brown as to whether he's notified of any inventory items that are damaged. That's one procedure. Another one, it's where you literally have to physically inspect damaged inventory items to ensure that they are labeled with a red sticker after they've been counted. Is it making sense? I'm talking about this
Yes.
bullet point right there. So you have to physically inspect the damaged inventory items after they've been counted to ensure they have been labeled with a red sticker. The counting teams must sign each inventory sheet when they've finished counting the inventory items assigned to them. We've already done that procedure earlier, which is this one, somewhere here. Inspect the completed inventory sheets for the signatory of the respective counters and their supervisor. So I've already done that procedure. And then once the counting teams have finished with their first counts, they must submit the inventory sheets to Danny Brown and sign the inventory control sheet again. So the counting teams would then sign for the inventory sheets for another counting team to start with the second count, the second and final count of the inventory that has already been counted by another team. As soon as items have been counted for the second and final time, a blue sticker must be attached to the inventory label on the shelf. So what are you going to do? Inspect the count sheets for the second and final count, right? And match it to the shelves to ensure that the completed the inventory items that have been counted are labeled with the blue sticker. That's what you're going to do for this procedure. Danny Brown will supervise the inventory count process and must be informed immediately if any problems are experienced during the inventory count. How are we going to ensure that this guy is truly supervising the inventory count process? How are you going to verify this?
Maybe check if he's following procedure, like is he collecting the counts, the sheets that they're using to count.
You'd have to observe him during the count process to ensure that he's indeed performing supervisory function over the count teams. Right? I think there's somewhere where they say to observe something there. You see there, observe whether
Number
the
6.
count. Sorry?
No, I was saying it's bullet point number 6.
Bullet point number 9 actually is the one. Observe that Danny Brown is present and available during the inventory count and that he supervises the counting process. Do you see it? That's exactly what I told you to say. You have to observe Danny Brown during the count process to ensure whether he supervises the count teams. That's exactly this one. Similar, exactly the same thing, in fact, but just explained differently. Right?
Yes.
Right. I think that was pretty much it about the inventory counts, because I just wanted to sort of like give you guys a perspective of how test of controls over the inventory and production cycle can be drafted. We are going to look at the ones, of course, for a different cycle altogether, but what I would tap into rather for the other cycle, it will not be manual test of controls. It will be the ones which are computerized. Because on this one, for the inventory and production cycle, I've only touched on the one that is a manual system based. Sometimes in the context of a test or in the context of an exam, you can get one which is dealing with a computerized environment. So to cover that aspect, I will have to maybe deal with that on a different cycle. So the next cycle that I'm going to discuss with you guys, it will be pertaining to revenue and receipt cycle. Because already I think purchases and payment cycle, I've shared the video on that, and I've also shared the notes. So next business cycle I'll deal with, it will be the revenue and receipt cycle. So that's what we're going to look at from next week. Thank you. Any questions over what we've discussed so far?
So with the mark allocation, if you're given 25 marks, how many points are you expected to make?
Just take the 25 divided by 1.5. That's to give you the perspective of how many procedures you are expected to give.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see there at the bottom.
You see it there. So question now is, where are those marks coming from? Remember, when you're dealing with a procedure, there should be a how. That's a half a mark for that. There should be a what. That's half a mark for that. And again, there should be a why. That's a half a mark for that. So with procedures or this test of controls, if you get any one of these three things wrong, you automatically get 0. So you need to make sure that when you give your test of control procedures, all right, make sure that your how is clear, your what is clear, and your why is also clear for you to get a full 1.5 point mark per procedure or per test of control in this case. Right.
All right, noted.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, this level. So I'll see you again next week. Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
All right. Cheers, eh?